Welcome to the Applied Maverick AI channel. I guess you are wondering what this channel is all about.
Yes. What do you cover here?
Well, what we cover here today on this deep dive is exactly that. We are tearing apart the source material from the Applied Maverick AI platform. And if you are listening to this right now, you have probably hit that exact wall of frustration they talk about.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the frustration is the entire entry point for their audience.
Right.
You open Twitter or LinkedIn, and you are just instantly bombarded by these guys in cheap suits telling you how to make $10,000 a week using ChatGPT.
Yeah, the hustle bros.
Exactly, the AI hustle bros.
Right.
And then you actually try to use the tools for real deep work, and it just spits out this generic, unusable garbage. And you were sitting there thinking, is this really the technology that is supposed to change human history?
It is so exhausting. And that is the exact mission of this deep dive today. We are going straight to the core of what the Applied Maverick AI channel is doing, because their whole tone is, it is basically a rebellious workshop notebook.
Zero gimmicks.
Zero gimmicks, exactly. They are talking directly to that frustrated newcomer. They act like a mentor, pulling you aside and saying, okay, forget the marketing hype. Here is the high-stakes reality of how this stuff actually works.
And they do not hold back. They start right at the foundation. So if we look at their first major theme, the genesis of AI, they tackle this massive disconnect between the promises we are being sold and the actual structural reality of the technology.
Yes, the big lie of artificial intelligence.
Well, right. They argue that the term intelligence itself is the root of the entire problem.
It really is.
Because when you, as a human being, hear the word intelligence, you automatically project human qualities onto it. You think of reasoning or logic or holding a persistent worldview. You think of a brain.
Which is completely natural. We anthropomorphize everything. People talk to their cars. So, of course, we're going to talk to a chatbot that speaks perfect English and assume it is thinking.
But the channel makes this incredibly sharp distinction. They say, look, AI is not intelligence. It is just pattern matching at an incomprehensible scale.
Yeah.
It is a massive statistical engine. When you ask it a question, it is not pondering the meaning of life. It is running complex math to figure out what word is statistically most likely to come next based on the billions of words it has consumed.
I love the way they frame that. It is not a thinker, it is a predictor. But that is kind of a hard pill to swallow, because the output feels so incredibly human.
It does feel human, and that is why the promises of AGI, artificial general intelligence, get so inflated. The tech CEOs get on stage and promise that these models are going to cure diseases tomorrow or run entire companies completely autonomously next week.
And the channel just completely deflates that. They point out that we are fundamentally misunderstanding the tool, which brings us to the mechanics of it. Section 2 of their core curriculum, basically.
Yeah.
How AI actually works under the hood.
This is where it gets really technical, but they explain it in such a grounded way. They strip away the magic. They want you to understand LLMs, large language models, not as some sci-fi brain, but as a specific type of software architecture.
Yeah, and the first concept they hammer home is tokens.
Tokens are so misunderstood.
Completely. Because we type in words, right? We type a sentence, and we assume the AI is reading a sentence.
Right.
But the channel explains that the model does not see words at all. It sees tokens.
Right, which are basically just chunks of text turned into numbers.
Exactly. A token might be a whole short word, or it might just be a couple of letters of a longer word.
Okay.
They use the example of how it breaks down complex terms. To the AI, it is just a sequence of numerical IDs.
It is math.
Yes. And understanding that is crucial for the next big concept they talk about, which is the context window.
Oh, the context window. This is where so many people's workflows just completely fall apart.
Tell me about it. How many times have you been talking to a model and suddenly it just completely forgets the instructions you gave it 20 minutes ago?
All the time. And the channel uses a great analogy for this. They explain the context window as the model's short-term memory. It is the literal limit of how many chunks of text the model can hold in its brain at any given moment during your specific conversation.
And once you push past that limit,
it just drops the oldest stuff. It falls right off the conveyor belt.
Right. So if you are trying to feed it a massive legal document, and the document is larger than the context window, the model is physically incapable of remembering the beginning of the document by the time it reads the end.
Which is why the Applied Maverick's AI guys are so adamant about understanding your tools. If you do not know the context limit of the specific model you are using, you are basically trying to pour a gallon of water into a shot glass and wondering why your shoes are wet.
That is a perfect way to put it. And then you have to consider the training data. The context window is the short-term memory, but the training data is the long-term memory.
Or as the channel calls it, the static worldview.
The static worldview, because it does not actually learn anything new once the training is done. It is frozen in time.
Exactly. I mean, unless it is actively using a web search plugin, the core model is essentially a snapshot of the internet up to a certain date. It is a frozen artifact.
And what happens when you combine a massive frozen data set, a limited context window, and a system that is just trying to predict the next token? You get the exact phenomenon that terrifies corporate America the most.
Hallucinations.
Hallucinations,
Yeah.
yes. This is honestly my favorite part of their whole curriculum.
Yeah.
Because everyone else talks about hallucinations like they are this terrible glitch that needs to be patched out.
Right, like it is a bug in the code.
But the Applied Maverick channel completely flips that script. They say, no, hallucinations are a structural feature. They are the core mechanism of the system.
Because if you think about it, the entire model is essentially hallucinating all the time.
Wow, yeah. Explain that.
Well, the channel points out that the AI does not have a database of true facts and a database of false facts. It does not possess a concept of truth at all. It is a generative probability engine.
Right. It is just calculating the next likely word.
Exactly. So when it writes a beautiful, completely accurate poem about the moon, it is hallucinating based on high probability connections in its training data. And when it confidently invents a completely fake legal precedent with a fake case number.
Last time it's a lie.
Right. When it does that, it is doing the exact same mathematical process. It is just stringing together legal-sounding tokens because they are statistically adjacent in the training data. The mechanism is identical.
It is essentially doing an improv routine. The core rule of improv is yes and. The AI is an actor that refuses to break character. If you ask it a highly specific, obscure question, it will not just say, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It'll confidently invent an answer that sounds structurally correct.
And that is why the channel is so hard on the frustrated newcomers. They say, look, you cannot get mad at a calculator for not playing music, and you cannot get mad at a generative model for generating fiction. That is literally what it was built to do.
So the burden is entirely on the user.
100%. Which naturally transitions into their next major focus. Section 4 of their content. How to actually use this thing in the real world.
Real prompt advice.
Yeah.
Because they absolutely despise the gimmick prompt.
Oh, they hate them. The whole act like a marketing expert and write me a viral tweet garbage.
Yeah, they call it out constantly because those generic prompts are exactly what produce the terrible robotic outputs everyone complains about.
The channel advocates for a completely different approach. They call it deep research and structured workflows. They want you to stop treating the AI like an oracle and start treating it like a highly capable but completely amnesiac intern.
I love the intern analogy because if you hire a real-life intern, you do not just walk into their office and say, do marketing.
Right, they would have no idea what to do.
Exactly. You give them context. You say, here are our last 3 campaigns. Here is the raw data from our recent survey. I need you to extract the 3 main pain points our customers are mentioning and format them into a bulleted list for me to review.
And that is exactly how the channel teaches prompting. Clear constraints, role definition, and most importantly, providing the context yourself. Do not ask the model to pull facts out of its training data because that is how you trigger a hallucination.
Right. You have to bring the facts to the model.
Exactly. You dump your raw data, your actual notes, your transcript into the context window, and you command the model to organize it, synthesize it, or reformat it. You are using its language processing skills, not its factual knowledge.
It's a complete paradigm shift. And when you start working that way, the tool suddenly becomes incredibly powerful. You actually start to see the productivity gains everyone promised.
And this is a massive, but the channel points out that very few people are actually doing this.
Very few.
Most people are just using it to churn out garbage, which leads directly into the darkest, most pessimistic part of their content, what they call the slop economy.
Oh man, the slop economy.
Yeah.
This part is so real, it is almost depressing.
It really is.
Because we are living in it right now. The channel defines the slop economy as this tidal wave of AI-generated noise that is completely flooding the internet.
It is the dead internet theory playing out in real time.
Explain that for the listener, the dead internet theory.
Well, the old internet was human beings writing things for other human beings to read. The dead internet theory, which the channel applies to this current era, is the idea that bots are now generating content for other bots to index and humans are just caught in the crossfire.
It is the death of SEO, search engine optimization,
Total destruction of it, yeah.
because the channel points out how these mass content farms are operating. They spin up an automated system that uses an LLM to write 10,000 articles a day about every conceivable topic.
The best time of year to visit Paris, how to fix a leaky faucet, whatever.
Right. And the articles are perfectly formatted. They hit all the right keywords. They are grammatically flawless. But they are completely hollow. They contain zero actual human insight. It is just synthesized slop.
And what happens is, this slop completely overwhelms Google search. So when you, the listener, try to look up a recipe or a tech tutorial, you have to wade through 5 pages of AI-generated fluff before you find a single sentence of actual lived human experience.
It's content fatigue. People are getting exhausted. The channel talks about how users are developing a visceral, almost biological revulsion to the AI tone.
Oh, absolutely. The word delve.
Yes. When the article starts with, let's delve into the intricate landscape of,
All right.
yeah, you just immediately close the tab, a machine wrote it.
The applied Maverick AI guys argue that this slop economy is actually creating a massive premium on authenticity. In a world where infinite mediocre content is practically free, actual human curation, actual expert opinion, like the rebellious, straight-to-the-core approach they are taking, becomes incredibly valuable.
Because it cannot be faked.
Right. But the slop economy is really just the consumer-facing symptom of a much larger, much more intense shift. And this is where the channel takes a serious pivot away from just productivity workflows and looks at the macro picture.
Section 6. AI, power, and politics.
The high-stakes reality.
And this is where we need to be incredibly careful to just impartially report what the channel is covering.
Yep.
Because the source material dives straight into some heavy, highly complex geopolitical and corporate power dynamics.
Right. The channel is mapping out the actual battlefield here. They are not taking sides. They're just pointing out who holds the weapons.
Exactly. And the first major dynamic they look at is the corporate posturing versus the reality of military integration. They look closely at companies like Anthropic.
Anthropic is a fascinating case study for them because Anthropic positions itself entirely around the concept of safety. They market themselves as the responsible AI lab, the ones building constitutional AI to ensure the models do not go off the rails or provide dangerous information.
Right. They're heavily focused on alignment and ethical guardrails.
But the channel juxtaposes that safety-first corporate branding with the reality of companies like Palantir.
Palantir's a whole different beast.
Completely. The channel breaks down Palantir's artificial intelligence platform, or AIP. Palantir is not building chatbots for teenagers to cheat on their homework. They are building defense and intelligence infrastructure.
And the channel highlights how deeply this technology is being integrated into the Pentagon. We're talking about using massive language and logistics models to optimize supply chains in active combat zones, or to process thousands of satellite images and drone feeds simultaneously to identify targets.
It is the weaponization of the exact same underlying architecture that powers your resume writing bot.
And this is the core of the geopolitical competition they outline. The channel reports on the perspective that regardless of how much companies like Anthropic want to prioritize safety and ethical constraints, there's a massive, unyielding geopolitical arms race happening globally.
Right. The argument they highlight is that if one nation heavily restricts their AI development because of domestic political concerns or ethical debates, rival nations will simply not adhere to those same constraints.
It is the classic prisoner's dilemma.
Exactly. The channel points out that in the context of national security, falling behind in AI capabilities is increasingly viewed as an existential threat. The intelligence agencies and the defense contractors, the Palantirs of the world, are operating under a mandate of total technological supremacy.
So you have this intense friction. You have the left-wing or perhaps more progressive tech sectors advocating for strict regulations, transparency, and rigid safety protocols to prevent societal harm or bias.
And on the other side, you have the more right-wing or defense-oriented sectors arguing that aggressive, unrestricted innovation is a matter of urgent national security, and that over-regulation will simply hand the future over to foreign adversaries.
And again, the Applied Maverick AI channel does not endorse one side or the other. They are simply demanding that their audience look at the reality of the board. They are saying you cannot understand AI if you just think of it as a fun, creative tool. You have to understand that the Pentagon and global superpowers are treating it as the next nuclear deterrence.
It forces the frustrated newcomer to completely recontextualize what they're dealing with. It is not just about fixing your marketing prompts. It is about understanding the foundational infrastructure of the next 50 years.
Which really brings the whole mission of their channel into focus. They're trying to build resilience in their audience.
Yes, resilience. That is the perfect word for it.
Because if you do not understand the genesis of the technology, that it is a statistical predictor, not a human brain, you will be constantly disappointed by it.
Right. And if you do not understand the mechanics, the tokens, the context windows, your workflows will constantly break.
And if you do not understand that hallucinations are a feature of the probability engine, you will end up trusting it when you absolutely should not.
And if you do not adapt to the slop economy, your own work will just get buried under a mountain of machine-generated noise.
This is a survival guide. The entire channel is a survival guide for the modern digital worker.
It really is.
Which leaves us with something pretty heavy to think about. We have unpacked the mechanics, the workflows, the corporate arms race, and the flood of AI slop. But I want to turn this directly to you, the listener, for a final thought.
Yeah, let's bring it back to the individual.
You are sitting there doing your job every day. Maybe you write code. Maybe you draft legal briefs. Maybe you design marketing campaigns. You are operating in a world that is rapidly filling up with this automated, frictionless content. If the internet is becoming a massive ocean of AI-generated slop, and the core value of human work is shifting toward deep curation, authenticity, and verified truth, what is your personal moat? What is the one specific skill you possess that cannot be replicated by a machine perfectly guessing the next statistical token? Because if your entire job is just synthesizing readily available information and formatting it nicely, the models can already do that faster and cheaper than you can. What happens when the hype cycle finally dies down? The magic wears off, and you are forced to prove your uniquely human value in a marketplace that no longer cares how fast you can type. That is the real high-stakes reality. Until next time, keep digging deep.